Well, we are going to actually welcome the current executive director because Keith served as executive director, I believe, twice, if I recall correctly, over the years. And right now we have Erik, who is the executive director, and I realize that he is apparently the youngest to assume the role of an executive director in the organization's history, and he was recognized for that by Forbes magazine. He started back in November of 2016, and you're the 9th executive director, Erik. And I wanted to note for people who are participating real quick in the giveaway. I don't know if I mentioned this to you, Erik, but we're doing a giveaway. We're going to have a whole swag bag, but they have to tell me how many different shirts I wear during the stream. So I've got shirts, tanks, hoodies. So this is it's my iPod Texas shirt. I love it. It is a standard. It was one of the first designs that Texas NORML ever created. So for those of you keeping track, make sure you make note. We are now on number 2. And so I'm going to bring on Erik. I'm going to unmute you and I'm going to spotlight your video and let's chat. Hi, Erik.
Hey, Jax, and hey, everyone out there watching. Happy 420.
Thank you. It is a strange 420. I was wondering, did you ever think that as executive director of a major marijuana organization that you would be putting out a letter talking to people about maybe not smoking quite as much cannabis?
Well, we certainly were faced with an incredibly unique situation once the pandemic really took off here in early March. But NORML, we had a lot of internal staff meetings about how we should grapple with this issue. And we realized our role as consumer advocates was really to make sure our membership was educated. They knew about the relative risks involved with different methods of smoking, what they could do to keep themselves safe. Encouraging them not to go outside on 420, instead enjoy wonderful live events such as these. Don't, keep one joint per person for now. Don't pass them around. So we really decided to be aggressive in the way that we approached it to make sure that all of our followers were well informed and well educated and stayed healthy through this. I would say, given that I started around November 1st of 2016, there were a lot of expected developments in the world since I became executive director. Yeah. But thanks to all the hard work of our NORML chapters, our staff here in DC, we've been able to be flexible to the evolving political and world climate and still achieved incredible things in just the past couple of years. So I'm incredibly proud of the work the national staff has done. You've done, Jax, and all our chapters out there. But it is absolutely a bizarre time. And I think we all have probably done way too many of these Zoom meetings by now.
Right. It's like now we understand the protocol and the etiquette for the Zoom meetings, whereas before maybe we didn't. But I totally agree. You were talking about the staff up in DC. Well, I mean, not everybody's in DC, but I was wondering if you could talk a little bit about whenever you came on in 2016, how did you as the youngest ED kind of take that and turn it into like a new day for NORML? I remember you guys were saying that a lot. And how did you kind of cultivate and curate such a great staff that you work with?
Well, I think it was really fortunate that Keith had such an incredibly clever and unique idea in 1970 to create the Cannabis Consumers Lobby and Advocacy Group, which is still something that sets us apart, even now that we're seeing lots more groups evolve around the marijuana issue and private industry and corporations starting to lobby on it. Our role has only really developed and become even more important now that we have legal states and over 33 or so medical states with varying programs. We have a unique message we have to get out. And thankfully, a lot of that political activism, grassroots energy from the 70s is very much back in vogue these days. Certainly after the 2016 election and the lead up to that, people had a bit of a political awakening in this country and are getting back to pure grassroots, people-powered activism, whether that's doing in-person lobby days that are organized by volunteers, using internet tools to contact their legislators, getting information out through social media channels. So we had the core idea right, and then the political climate and technology really came to meet the moment for us. So now we're in this incredible position where I believe in about a couple of clicks, we can reach over 2 million people on our social media networks and email lists. We can get our message directly to the people, no longer going through media gatekeepers like newspaper editorial boards, as I'm sure Keith had to struggle with in the early days. So we really were able to combine what was the essence of NORML with the modern political climate and with modern technology. And I think that's really only served to see a resurgence of NORML's importance, relevance, and impact in recent years. And a huge part of that has been carried forth by our incredible national staff. We have a wonderful group of people that are, very largely young, very savvy with technology, and very committed to this cause. So what I really did, and my belief as an executive director in management style, is that you just have to find people that are passionate and have the talent and empower and platform them to do the work. And I see you doing that out in Texas. That's what we do in DC, and that's what we do throughout our chapter network. So it's really brought NORML to a point where I think on our 50th anniversary here, we still feel more relevant and modern than ever.
Awesome. I agree that, you guys have kind of taken a step forward in technology kind of in advance of this. You guys always do a great job of keeping the chapters involved by having these regular calls. You make sure that you create stuff that we are able to use, and you're very available when we have questions. So I know I really enjoy working with National and getting up to DC. Can you talk a little bit about the lobby days that you guys host in DC? And do you think that this September that it's going to be possible to do one in person? Are you thinking about doing it virtually?
Well, to kind of carry off your first point there, and that leads into the lobby days. What I'm really most proud of that NORML does and has done successfully isn't really empowering, folks like me, Keith, Justin, and all our national staff. It's really about empowering and amplifying the voices of everyday Americans who have something to say about the way our public policy works. It's about giving them the tools needed to become their own advocates in their own communities. Without our volunteers, grassroots supporters, and chapter network, there really is no NORML. It would just be me and Keith hanging out in the office, not really knowing what to do with our time. So it's really the boots on the ground out there that are getting things done. And a big component of that has now, certainly since I've come back as executive director, been our annual lobby day and conference here in Washington, D.C. We bring together hundreds of advocates from across the country. I believe in previous years, we've had representatives from 30 plus states attend these. We schedule meetings with their members of Congress for them, typically doing 200 plus meetings in the course of one day with our NORML advocates. And we see the real tangible results of that. After our last conference in 2019, thanks to the meetings you had and other groups had, we got new sponsors for legislation in Congress and really built up our political power here in DC and the momentum behind federal reform. Unfortunately, on the topic of the 2020 lobby day, I think that's still largely unclear. We're very cautiously watching the evolving situation here, and we want to make sure that if we do it, it's safe and it's something that people feel comfortable attending and we can do very productively. But I think through this early part of the COVID crisis, we're all getting very good at these online platforms and technology, hosting events like this. So at bare minimum, there will absolutely be a virtual online component to our conference. We'll have a full day of programming, seminars and speakers, education efforts and trainings, and then we'll kind of adapt the lobby day to that as needed. We would very much love to have everyone come join us in DC, walk the halls of Congress. If you haven't done it yet, it's an incredible, empowering experience to do that the first time and realize that these representatives work for you, not the other way around. And you really have to make your voice heard as a constituent and let them know that if they don't support what their community wants and their voters want, you can fire them at the ballot box next election. So that's an important component that I'm sure we want to bring back in DC as soon as possible. The chapters want to bring back at the state capitals as soon as possible. But we have to be very cautious of the evolving health situation.
Yeah, I think that the one good thing is that, we all have the capacity and the ability to kind of do these virtual things before, but this has really driven us to do them. And I think that it allows it to be more inclusive. There's some people that maybe they can't leave their home because of their medical condition or because they have young kids or something like that. And so I think for that, it's really great. And I always appreciate you guys scheduling and getting all of those meetings together for everybody. I know that that's not an easy task.
Well, and as I've begun to think and plan out what we would look like for a conference this year, I absolutely agree with the accessibility issue. Not only is it tough if you travel, have kids, have a job, it's no small investment to come out to DC. We try to keep our costs for the tickets low, usually, 50, $60 for the full 3 days. But that doesn't include a flight, a hotel, the time off work, all the practical matters that go into it. So if we're able to deliver a similar level of quality content to more people at extremely low cost, just to cover the production, $5 a head or something like that, and people can engage from home and not only participate now because of the convenience. Let's not forget there's still countless Americans that live in prohibition states where marijuana possession is an arrestable criminal offense. And they may feel uncomfortable coming out publicly and identifying, being at these public events, going to rallies, being photographed on social media, wearing a NORML shirt, talking about marijuana. This way, they could also have that bit of anonymity and still get the content that we deliver, but in a convenient, safe way at home.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much for joining us. And I really look forward to seeing what you put together and definitely letting all of our people know what's going on with it. So thank you so much for joining us, Erik.
Well, thanks for everything you do. I hope everyone stays safe out there, enjoys the holiday, and take care of yourselves and each other.
Awesome. Thank you.